Welcome back in, family. Welcome to another week here at the Elephant Effect. It's your boy Stone.
Lady M.
All right, we're back with a brand new episode in the Enlightenment Series. All right, we're back talking about the illusion of control. This is all about that control that everybody craves, all right? The tighter you grip, the more life slips, all right? So if you're ready, let's lock in.
All right, welcome back. So we're going to go ahead without delay and slide into topic number 1. Control isn't strength. It's a subtle panic in disguise. You're not organized. You're terrified of chaos. And that is such a good way to slide into this series because oftentimes we feel like we are in control. And then when all hell break loose is crazy because we start trying to juggle life because here's the chaos that we try to prevent. But as we stated, even in episode 1, you're out of control anyway. It's not your GPS. All you got to do is go through the route, but you're trying to navigate and call the shots and do everything. Control pretends to be power, but it's just fear wearing a suit. The obsession with managing everything is how anxiety hide in plain sight. The strongest people aren't in control, they're in flow. And so that's good because we often think because we control a situation or we feel like we control a situation that we're strong and we're always leading out front. But it's surrendering that control. And actually just going with the flow. I know in previous episodes we talked about just how effective it is to show up in the now and be present in the now and just knowing that control isn't strength. It's actually showing that you have no faith in the direction and the course of your life. That you just want to control it all and try to navigate life on your own. Because I'll be the first to admit that when control steps up in my life, it is because of that fear. Whatever is going on in the background, I don't want it to come to the forefront, so I try to control the narrative.
Control pretends to be power, but it's fear wearing a suit. That's crazy. It's so true. And that's going to lead us right into number 2. The mind doesn't want peace. It wants predictability. All right. The mind would rather be miserable and familiar than free and uncertain. All right. So, hey, that's just letting you know kind of wicked mind we can have, if you let it get out of control. We talked about it week 1, You have to have your mind and your thoughts under control at all times in order to have that becoming, in order to be enlightened, because it can get away from you real quick. And like I said, it loves that misery. It loves that misery and it loves that familiarity. All right. It loves staying right in its lane, but you have to break that mold. You have to get uncomfortable with yourself. You have to start freeing your mind up and start thinking outside the box. So you're not keeping yourself subdued with those thoughts that kept you, low and kept you in that state of mind where you weren't growing and you felt unhealthy and you kept bringing in toxic relationships. You kept doing these things that weren't of you because you weren't letting your mind be free. Yeah, you're not addicted to control, all right? You're addicted to avoiding surprises. And that's absolutely 100,000% true. A lot of people don't like surprises unless they're the good ones, surprise birthday parties, all of that, but those surprises in your life where they pop up negative, positively, a lot of people tend to avoid that. They let you know, hey, get right back to it. Predictability feels safe to the ego, okay? And there goes that ego again. Predictability feels safe to the ego, but it suffocates to the soul, all right? So we're suffocating that soul, trying to chase that ego, trying to let that ego control who we are, when that's not us, all right? So let's not suffocate our soul. Remember, going back to alignment, we have to have our mind, body, and soul in one accord. And in order to do that, you got to let that ego get out the way. Let it go. Let it get off your shoulders, all right? Because peace begins when you stop worshiping routines, all right? And you start trusting that rhythm, all right? Start trusting your flow you're in a good flow now. You know, we're moving. We're several series in. We're already past the baby steps. Now we're moving and we're striding and we're running in a direction that we want to go. So start to trust that rhythm that you built for yourself. All right. And don't fall so much back on that routine, even though we say you should build a strong routine for yourself. But sometimes we can get caught up in that and we become a little bit stagnant in that routine. You don't want to limit your growth because you're trying to stay in that lane. All right, go with the rhythm, roll with the punches, as they say.
The one thing that I'll add to that, just to kind of clear up that routine piece, it's definitely good to have a routine. But in this aspect, it's talking about worshiping it. Sometimes we worship a routine versus just sticking to a routine, which is two different things. And sticking to that routine to make sure that you have a rhythm and you're trusting the flow. And so just going into topic number 3, control makes you a prisoner disguised as a planner. This one is so good because we oftentimes, especially those who overthink, you often think that, you're planning this out, and it's only planning because you're trying to make sure that that sabotage don't come into place when you've already self-sabotaged. You've already think through the worst scenarios, and so that's why you want to think it. That's why you want to plan it out, so that you think that you can write it out where it can be as clean as possible. Most people don't plan for progress, they plan for protection, and that's all you're doing. You're protecting yourself, so you figure, let me step out and plan this out so I can go ahead and chisel out the pieces that I don't want to be a part of this. The illusion of control is the cage that keeps you anxious and burnt out. And that's so good. Because if you, especially if you overthinking, you're not controlling your thoughts, and you feel like, oh, they're definitely knocking on my door, then you do feel like, oh, I'm burnt out. There's nothing else I can do. I'm always anxious. And then you fall into over managing life. And that is the fastest way to under experience life as well. If you always have to be in control, everything has to be written out 1 through 10, and you got these steps that you have to follow, then you definitely never get the full fulfillment of what life truly is, because you're always taking cautious steps. And you're being more reactive than proactive, if you think about it. Right. The more tightly you script every moment, the more life passes you by. And this is so good, because we want to control everything. Oh, I can't wait until tomorrow because I'm going to do this, that, and the third. And we block so many things, so many blessings, so many things that can come into our realm. But we block them because we already got the day already planned out, and we're not allowing any outside interferences when they can actually be a blessing in disguise. But because we're a prisoner, we've already planned out the day. Those things never come into fruition because, again, we're living in protection mode and not progression mode. We're not progressing because we're so pent up, because we don't want another thing to come and knock us off of our post.
You just got hit with that with that right hook, because my baby throwing haymakers tonight. Ooh, Lord, yeah. Hey, listen, I'm wearing that one right on my chest. Like I said, we learning with y'all, and I gotta wear mine on my sleeve sometimes as well. So I'm definitely, sometimes I can be my own prisoner, disguised as a planner for sure. Overthinking is very toxic, and it's easy to fall into. So definitely that'll lead us right into number 4. Right? Your timeline is a lie. The by now I should have voices, it gets you every time. That's not you. That's programming, all right? That's you watching these certain people online saying, oh, they're doing this, they're doing that. Oh, they started 3 months ago. I've been doing it for a year, and look how far ahead they are. No, that's not the design. That's not what's made for you. You may have to experience some things along the way to pick up more of. You may have way more wealth of knowledge than they have. They may have did it the fast way just to get it out the way, but they may not be sustainable down the road. Where yours could be sustainable because you took that hard road. You took that route that you were going to build on a strong foundation, which we've been talking about a lot, building up that foundation the right way. All right, so don't get caught in that timeline, right? Because you'll end up stressing yourself out for no reason and thinking that you're not where you are when you're there already, you know?
Absolutely.
Control turns your life into a deadline factory,
Mm.
you know? And that's poetic and all in itself, all right? We don't want to get caught up in these deadlines, putting unnecessary stress on ourselves, trying to, meet these deadlines that really aren't really attainable for us, because our life may be so hectic, and now you're just putting stress on top of yourself. And then when you don't get there, what are you gonna do? Self-sabotage.
Absolutely.
You're gonna break yourself down and say, oh man, here we go again, picking something up, putting it back down, not finishing what I start. So, let's not fall into that control of deadlines, all right? Nothing meaningful grows under pressure to arrive, okay? Nothing meaningful grows under pressure to arrive, all right? You don't need more speed, all right? You just need more surrender, okay? Start surrendering to that voice in the back of your head that's saying you're enough. Start surrendering to those thoughts that are saying, hey, you're doing everything you can,
Absolutely.
all right? Because that's the thoughts that's going to keep us thriving and keep us going in a direction that we need to go, instead of the voice in the back of our head say you're not doing enough. Because then guess what? You're going to go right back to the deadline, and that control is going to take over. And all that's wrapped up in one with that ego, all right?
Absolutely. I definitely hope that y'all are picking up what we're putting down.
Right.
This is good. Going right into number 5, letting go isn't weak, it's wisdom from the spine.
From the spine.
Yes. So surrender isn't giving up. It's backing up so you can see clearly. And I know in the last episode we talked about meditation and doing those things where you can filter through your thoughts, but it's all about being able to back away. If we back away from situations, thoughts, things that come, we would definitely have a better outcome, because you're able to look at the situation but take yourself out of it. And so surrendering is good. Releasing control doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop choking purpose. And so oftentimes we walk not in alignment because we are so fixated on control, and we think that, if I let this area of my life go, it means that I don't care. But it means that you do care. I care enough, and I mean enough to myself and my destiny that I'm going to release, I'm going to surrender and walk into my purpose in life. And so it is definitely gonna take some surrendering and giving up that control. You don't lose power when you let go, you finally stop leaking it. And so I love that, because oftentimes we think because we're in control that we are powerful. But being in control is the complete opposite. Is letting fate, destiny, whatever you want to call it, have its way. What is supposed to be yours is going to track you down and overtake you regardless. Nobody can take anything that's attached to Mary. Nothing can take anything that's attached to you. And so when we get to a place where we're confident and comfortable in that, we'll stop trying to be in control of everything and then just walk in our purpose. Right. Everything that is in your purpose is already laid out for you. You just have to go out and obtain it. But you have to do it with that fear on the back burner, with that control on the back burner. Because one thing I know about surrendering is that's where you gain your strength. That because now I'm wiser. I'm wiser because I no longer have to be in control. And now I can walk with my spine upright, because I know wherever this road is taking me, it's to my purpose and it's for my greatness. And so it takes strength to stop forcing and start flowing. And I think that those who overthink, for everybody who always got to operate in power, it's hard to flow, because you always feel like you got to be in the know. But when you're flowing, you're not going to know everything. The only thing you need to know is everything that is attached to me is great. And just reaffirming, what you already know, that I am amazing and I'm going to get what is rightfully mine. But it's definitely going to take surrendering that control and releasing yourself. That's the biggest thing, releasing yourself and knowing that you're worthy of it all. And I think, all of this ties back to, we always talk about you. It's about me. It is about getting yourself to a place and building yourself to a place where I am empowered and aligned enough to receive receive what is mine. And so you're not weak for letting go. You're actually, that's where you're gaining your strength.
Absolutely. All right, now lead us right into number 6. Overthinking is control with better PR. All right. All right. So I'm not just processing. It's often code for I'm spiraling in disguise. All right. I'm just processing. I'm just taking. No, that's the code. Hey, I'm spiraling. I'm going down a rabbit hole that I really don't recognize, that I really don't understand. All right. So you got to realize that your mind is rehearsing failure to avoid experiencing it.
That's good.
And it's costing you your life. All right. We're just rehearsing failure over and over again. And you constantly thinking about those failures, constantly reliving those failures. For what? Let them go. All right. So mental loops don't make you smarter. Okay. They just make you stuck. All right. So staying in that mental cycle, that mental toxic roundabout, going and going, tossing and turning and working yourself up over the same thing over and over and over and over and over. It just keeps you stuck exactly where you are now. Okay. That's why I say you got to take that step back, refresh your mind. All right. Start watching things, start reading books, start making something, shaking your mind that's going to get you out of that. So you can get out of that paralysis, because that's exactly what it's like, paralysis, where you're just staying stuck and you're doing the same thing over and over again. What do they call it? Insanity. Just doing insanity over and over again. They say, no, it's going to work this time if I do it this way. If I do it this way, no, take a step back. All right, let me put that on the back burner and let me try it. Let me try something else first. And then doing that way, it may help me out with this avenue that I didn't see, But that's a lot of times, that's what happens. We're not seeing that route. We're not imagining that route because we're not thinking like that. We're not thinking, okay, how can I get out of this? No, we're just thinking about the same old mistakes that we've been making, all right? So the cure for overthinking is action, not analysis, all right? So like I said, it's taking that action, taking that step back and realizing, hey, what are we doing? How are we doing it? And what's the easiest or fastest route to get me out of this mud? All right.
Oh man, I'm over here. I'm processing, y'all. I'm thinking, and then I'm releasing and trying to make sure that I'm surrendering as well. But so many thoughts are coming to mind, and I'm putting myself in this situation, and I'm just like, wow, I have been trying to control that narrative subconsciously, because it's easy. It's so easy to fall into that loop, that routine, that cycle. Oh, wait, keep your distance, because I'm realizing that I don't trust that process, and so I gotta control the narrative. So topic number 7, control is just a fancy way to say you don't trust. What did I just say? Right. So don't micromanage what you trust. And so that is so good, because oftentimes we feel like I do have to micromanage in this area in order to trust it, but that's not it. Because if you trust it, you let it roam free, you let it do whatever it's supposed to. And so even when it comes to your thoughts, learn how to filter out and don't feel like you have to be in control. And so we dumbing everything down in life now. We always gotta suit it up and make it look like something that is not. But let's get in the process of trusting ourselves. And that's what I said. If you get to a place of affirming yourself and speaking and declaring, what it is you truly have, and you truly aspire to be, we don't have to micromanage life. We don't have to control life, because the cards are already dealt. We just have to play the hand. And so we often get caught up in the deck because we are afraid that, oh my goodness, if the wrong thing happens, then this. But the need to overplan every outcome is spiritual distrust at its core. Especially when if we want to talk about being spiritual, the word speaks that there is an expected hope and plan for all of us. But guess what? We forget about all of that. Forget that. I have my own destiny. I know where I'm going. If I do this, then this. And then we get upset when it don't happen. Is because we're not the author or the finisher. Control assumes you know better than the process. And that just goes back to everything else that I stated. We get so comfortable and we feel like we know it all. And so I already know how this is going to end. So let me go ahead and control it from the beginning, so we don't even have to get to that end. And that's not even true. So you don't need a tighter grip. you need a deeper root. Come on. You talking about being planted like a tree. Oh my God, that is so deep, because guess what? If you're planted, that means you're rooted, which means I am so deep in this thing that my only option is to grow. And the only way you can grow is up, especially when you are rooted. So man, oh my gosh, I love that, because it talks about a tree being tossed to and fro, but never rooted up. So that's good. I love that.
That's real good. That's real good. All right, that brings us right into number 8. True power feels like breath, not tension. All right, so we're breathing, we're control. That's true power, not that tension that keeps your spine locked up, like we mentioned earlier. Not carrying that on your shoulders, not all of that. That's not true power. All right, power isn't in the push. All right, it's in the presence. Okay, control will have you tired, tight, and tense, all for no reason. All right. Let it go. Let that power go, and let that control just be in your mind. All right. Let your mind control things, and let your mind set that at ease. You don't have to control everything, every aspect. All right. We've been preaching on it this whole episodes, but you know that real strength is walking into the unknown and not flinching.
That's good.
All right. That's where true power is. All right. Don't be scared of the unknown. The unknown is a great place to be. You know, because you're walking by faith, and you're walking with that certainty in the back of your mind, saying, "Hey, I got this." Absolutely. You know, you're not that lost sheep anymore, where you were making bad decisions, and everywhere you turned, you had to look over your shoulder, you had to question your own decision making, because we're growing past that. All right, we're aligned now. We're in a much healthier state of mind, and we're actually taking control of our subconscious, and we're actually taking care of and letting our mind. You know, we're not letting our mind run us, we're running our mind. So understand where that real strength comes from. And when you walk into that unknown, and you're walking into places that you've never been, and experiences that you've never experienced, and places that you feel like you don't belong, guess what? You can walk in there with your head up and your shoulders, up, because now you're walking in that peace. All right. We're not walking under any type of tension. We're walking in peace. All right, because life doesn't reward control. All right, it rewards alignment.
Absolutely.
All right, and that's bottom line, which we've been preaching a long time to you guys. All right, get aligned, because that's where all that control will really come from. That balance, that peace is all in the alignment. All right, it's nothing in the ego. It's nothing in that tension. It's nothing in that power. All right, the power comes from within. It comes from your mind. All right. So let's spew that.
Man, as you were saying that, and just in reference to peace and everything that we have talked about in this series, all I could hear was a peace that surpasses all understanding. And oftentimes we feel like we got to understand it all. Oh, I need to see it from A to Z before I walk in it. But when you're walking in alignment, you're walking in peace anyway, because you have surrendered control. And so let it go. It's not because you're giving up. It's because it was never yours to carry. Stop carrying things unnecessarily.
Man, right.
You've mistaken control for stability. But the most grounded people, they don't force. They just flow. And so learn how to flow. Ride your wave.
Right.
The minute you start managing everything, you finally see what was meant for you. Right. And that should be the only thing you want to flow to you anyway. What's meant for you. Because you can't sustain and you can't manage what isn't yours.
Exactly.
And the life that's waiting is not on your schedule, is on your surrender. I love that so much, because we always talk about or we have mentioned before, just in reference to sometimes we'll play the number game. Oh, I'm 30 plus, I should be doing this by now. Or oh, I've been doing this for this amount of time and I should be here by now. Or we do it, we set dates on the calendar and say, okay, by this then I'm gonna be this. And so I know I definitely had to put away the numbers game, and just know that I am not like, anybody that I may see. And I just have to realize that this is my race to run. And whenever I get to the finish line is when I get to the finish line. But the one thing that I can't wait to say to myself is the well done, the congratulations.
Right.
And so you have to continually contend and run and know that your journey is your journey, and continue to, every round gets a little higher, but always look back just a little bit just to see how far you've come.
That's good advice. That's good advice for sure. And this Enlightenment series is growing on us. You know, hey, it's definitely a swift kick in the tail, but I'm loving where it's going. I'm loving the flow of it, you know, because it's not sticking to one general topic. It's definitely branching out, and it's helping you out with a lot of different aspects, especially in something as important as controlling your life.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's an aspect of life that I know a lot of people just really have a hard time letting go of, or even understanding what to control and what not to control. So, hey, watch this a couple of times. You know, let all this information marinate with you. You know, this isn't something you can just one and done in one ear and out the other. No, this is something that has to take root deep down in that soul. Let it get down in there. Watch it 2 or 3 times. Share it with somebody who needs this, all right? Because this is vital information for you. You know, hey, we got one more episode in this Becoming series, but the next one's gonna be even better and even more impactful. You know, hey, I'm taking my lumps. I'm sure my baby's taking her lumps as well. I'm sure y'all got some ice packs to put on your little lumps you got. But hey, it's all about growth. It's all about getting in that alignment. It's all about becoming, all right? So you got finished last words for us, Dan?
That was it. I definitely have a lot to take from this series, for sure. Especially this episode in particular, because I surrender. I am definitely a overthinker.
Right.
And I definitely got to have it lined out from 1 to 10 sometimes and walk that thing out just for those hidden surprises. But I definitely don't want to be out of an alignment for the sake of myself. And so that's crazy that sometimes you can put yourself in harm's way just by thinking or just by underthinking. Sometimes you think it's overthinking, but it's also underthinking as well. To underthink that you're not worthy of it, or to underthink that it's not going to happen for you because it hasn't happened for you. But, you know, all of this is helping me to know that it's not for you. What if, truth be told, you're out of alignment? And what if it didn't come to you because you weren't as prepared for it as you thought you were? And so it just takes you back to having that accountability and being able to stand in the thick of it and say, you know, what if I thought I was stable, but I'm not stable? What if I have been on my knees and not on my feet? And so this is good. I definitely, you know, as he stated, go back and watch this a few times and definitely get the meat off the bone and spit out the fat, because it's so much more, and it's so much more to leveling up. And the best version of you is waiting on you. So do the work. Let's get our hands dirty. And I look forward to seeing each and every one of you next week. Bring somebody. Again, just as we put out every single week, we're looking for your questions, your topics, whatever you can do to engage. We are here for it. Don't y'all wait until we are on bigger platforms, on stages, and then y'all want to run to the stage, say, oh, I know them, I used to watch them on YouTube. Let's interact now, because it's gonna cost you later, because we're gonna be walking in alignment, and alignment might cost you a little more.
Right.
But yeah, we love y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in every week. And that's it for me.
Absolutely. Hey, we'll see y'all again next week. Have a good rest of your week. Be safe out there. All right, we love you.
Peace.